So I'm on my way to BMS Education. They are a supplier of chemicals in Cape Town. I'm looking to pick up about exactly a kilogram of potassium nitrate. And the idea behind this is so that I can mix it up to do two things. Firstly, I need to make a slow burning fuse because I couldn't find a slow burning fuse that you could readily buy, with the exception of having it imported at a really crazy price. So I googled how to make a slow burning fuse, and you can mix up potassium nitrate and you can put in some yarn over heat. And the wool shop that I went to said that yarn is the same as wool. We're going to try that out over the weekend, and I'm going to do a test. I'm going to ignite a small piece of it to see if it burns slowly from one end to the other. The idea behind that is that I can then insert it into the base of the rocket so that I can ignite the combustion chamber and hopefully take off when I do compile the sugar rocket, or the rocket that's going to contain the combination of the other potassium nitrate that I'm going to use, which is going to be the leftovers that I didn't use for the infused yarn, basically. The plan for this weekend as well, I did manage to go to the hardware store to pick up some PVC piping, and I'm going to hopefully assemble my model rocket stand, and that is going to be the base that I'm going to use to launch the model rocket when I finally assemble it and create the actual rocket motor using the potassium nitrate. So we'll see. So I just picked up my potassium nitrate at BMS Education. They do have a website. They have got a store here in Crumbrum Road in Cape Town, and I called them up yesterday, asked them if I could have a kilogram, and they said sure, no problem, come around tomorrow with some cash and we'll mix it up for you. So yeah, they have put it into these containers for me, two of these, each 500 grams. So we'll see how this works. Hey there everybody, so today is the day that I attempt to make the slow burning fuse. The reason I'm going to go the route of a slow burning fuse is so that I can hopefully set it off, ignite it, insert it into the base of the rocket chamber that will ultimately ignite the actual engine and then let it take off. So I could go the route of an electronic fuse. I've chosen to go for a one that's actually made out of wool, rather just for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of being able to make it myself rather than dealing with electronics at this point. I will probably need to go the route of an electronic fuse or an electronic match at a later stage. So what I've got the 36 grams of potassium nitrate, 24 grams of sugar, which I'm going to mix together, which is going to get me a 60 gram solution. I'm going to shake that together and I'm going to add it to boiling water. I'm then going to cut up about 12 feet of wool, which I'm going to let absorb the solution. Then I'm going to put it in the oven so that it actually dries out and gets nice and stiff. I'm going to let it cool, and if all goes well, I should then be able to break off pieces of it or cut off pieces of it, ignite it, and it should burn from one end to the other. That's the theory. I got this recipe, this instructional off of YouTube from a channel called The King of Random. He does also show you how to make homemade sugar rockets, which I'm also going to try. Again, the idea behind this is to show you that I can do it from stuff that I got at Game, the hardware store, and from places around Cape Town that is easily accessible to anybody at a relatively low cost. So I'm going to show you what I've done here, and then we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out 36 grams of potassium nitrate. I've got these little cups from Game, they're just plastic containers, which I'm going to use to measure out 36 grams. I don't know if the gloves are mandatory or not, but we're going to see. So I'm just going to get that going. Not much. 36 grams. Okay. So 36 grams of potassium nitrate, and now 24 grams of sugar. Okay, 24 grams of sugar. And I'm going to mix these together. Kind of just shake it up so that I can get nice and mixed up. Okay, I'm now going to add a third of a cup of water to a pan that's on a medium heat, so let's go do that. I have to be honest with you, I was super worried when doing this because I've got zero chemistry background and I wasn't sure if it was going to like spark or something like that. So this is supposed to get pretty frothy according to the video that I saw. I'm just going to put on a fan over here. Once it's like all mixed up, and then I'm going to add the wool, and I hope it is the correct type because in the video the guy used 100% cotton wool and I've got acrylic, so I don't know if it's going to work. Let's kind of see what happens here. So I'm going to wait for this to get a bit frothy, which is the what was sort of said in the video, and then I've got my oven preheated to 150 degrees Celsius, which is 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and once the wool has absorbed this this mixture, it needs to go in for about 20 minutes so that it is nice and dried out, nice and crisp, and has a slight brown tinge to it. So we're going to see how that goes. Okay, so after a while, it's probably been about 5 or so minutes on I started off on a higher heat, then I dropped it down to a medium heat. It's getting nice and frothy, which is what I saw in the video. It was boiling normally earlier, now it's getting nice and frothy, and this is kind of the look that I wanted. And now I'm going to add the wool to it. So I'm going to add the wool and kind of just slowly dip it in and hope that it doesn't get too tangled up, and I'm just going to stir this in. I'm going to leave a little piece out here. Like it's absorbing and creating one big knot, which I hope doesn't cause too much drama later on. Okay, I didn't expect it to clump together like this. I don't know if that's a problem or not. I guess we're gonna kind of see. This looks like it's absorbed pretty much all of that. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm just gonna slide this off the heat, turn that off, put my gloves on, and move it back over to the baking tray. So the one thing I was not anticipating was that the mixture seemed to get quite clumpy. It looks like I may need to try with the wool, but I'm going to try put this in the oven and hopefully nothing catches fire. I'm really kind of hoping for that not to happen. While we are waiting for, we've got another 8 minutes on the oven until it gets to 20 minutes, I thought I would share with you guys what this all cost and what my plans from here are if this works. So if it doesn't work, I suspect that it's the type of wool I might need to go for cotton instead of acrylic. We're going to see how that works out. So far, I've had to buy pretty much everything from scratch for two reasons. The first reason, I didn't have a digital scale. I didn't have a measuring jug that had a third of a cup of water, which I would have to kind of eyeball on my previous measuring jug, so I had to get stuff like that. And secondly, because I didn't want to use the baking tray that I cook chicken on every night, or I didn't want to use the frying pan that we're going to use later on to cook like bacon and eggs in if I'm going to be cooking up potassium nitrate and sugar in later on. So I went down to Game. I got the cheapest of everything that I could find. I got a digital scale, I got a metal spatula, I got a measuring jug, I got these Ziploc bags so that if this works, the fuse, I can cut them up and put them into these bags so that they don't absorb moisture from the air. I went and I got a blender. The blender is actually going to be used later on when I blend up cat litter to make a clay for the actual miniature rockets that I'm going to be using. So I got that. I got a fresh baking tray. I got the 3 plastic cups. I got another like a wooden spoon, and the wool and stuff like that. So that all came to, including the potassium nitrate, the 1 kilogram potassium nitrate and the 1 kilogram of sugar, all came to about 1,500 Rand. So a lot of the stuff is one-time buys, but then I can use this moving forward. So the potassium nitrate and sugar is going to last a pretty long time, and I can make a lot of stuff with it. A lot of fuses and rockets, I mean. The digital scale will be used moving forward. The blender, one-time buy, I'm going to use it for every rocket that I make up to a certain point until the container doesn't hold the amount of mixture that I need. So all of this stuff is pretty much one-time buys, and from here, I still need to get proper surgical gloves, and that's the only difference. Okay, we've just hit 20 minutes. Let's have a look here. So I can see that it does have a bit of a brownish tinge to it. So I'm going to take this out and let it cool for 5 to 10 minutes as per the instructions. While it's just come out, I'm actually just gonna, this actually hasn't stuck at all, so that's good. Okay, so this has now cooled down. I'm going to cut this into straight pieces. I'm going to leave the corner pieces, and then I am going to potentially cut them again in half just to kind of see how it works. I'll leave one super long one to burn and see how that works for safety's sake. And then if it works well, I will test on a clumpy piece, and I'll test on a piece that maybe isn't so clumpy to see if there's any significant difference. I suspect there will be. We will see now. So let's cut this. Okay, so as you can see, it's nice and stiff now that it's cooled. So I'm going to cut these edges off, and we will see soon. Okay, so I've got 2 of the long pieces here. One is slightly more clumpy than the other. What I'm going to do first, I think, is light the non-clumpy piece at the sort of least clumpy part of it. I'm going to put it underneath this brick, and then I'm going to light the one end, and we're going to see if it ignites or not. So let's do that. there. Okay. It looks like it wants to go, but it doesn't. That didn't really work out as I expected it to. My suspicion, what I was actually quite surprised to see, was that the flame almost fizzled out when it got to the clump of the actual mixture. So my suspicion is that the nylon wool is not absorbing the solution as much as what maybe cotton would. So now I'm going to go to the wool store, get some cotton, and try again. And I will skip all the other stuff and I'll just focus on the cotton stuff. So I've got my wool. I've got this raw cotton wool, and at the back it says 100% cotton. Let's see if this works. Take two, I've now tried. This is the 100% cotton wool. I did exactly the same recipe as last time. It still came out a little bit clumpy. I get the suspicion that maybe I've got it on slightly too hot, the stove, or maybe I do not put it in, I put it in a bit too late, which means that it tends to absorb in certain bits quicker than evenly. So let's see if this lights up. I'm not sure. This is the exact same mixture, just using cotton. Yeah, there it goes. So there we have a slow burning fuse, goes from one end to the other. Little piece just broke off, but it carries on.